Hi guys, today I'll be giving you some recommendations on what cubes to buy. For newer cubers, this can definitely be a very confusing choice because there's so many cubes on the market that it's hard to know what's good and what's not. So hopefully this video can help shed some light on that issue. I'm going to be going over 2x2, 3x3, 4x4, Pyraminx, and Skewb. But before I get started, I want to briefly mention what cube stores you should buy from, and there are three that I really recommend. There's the Cubicle, Cubes for Speed, and Cubes EZ. The Cubicle and Cubes for Speed are both US-based stores, which means that their shipping is going to be really fast, almost always in under a week, and their customer service is really good, but on the downside, their prices are a little bit higher. Cubes EZ is a Chinese-based store, which means that their prices are super cheap, but shipping will take a long time, probably 2 or 3 weeks if you live in the US. So it's really up to you which cube store you buy from. All three of those stores are really good, they're reputable places, so you can't go wrong with any of them. So let's get started with 2x2. One of the 2x2s I recommend is the Dayan 2x2. It's very smooth and quiet, which you can tell when I turn it. And it's the cube that almost all fast 2x2 solvers use as their main. It needs breaking in and lube though until it gets really good, because out of the box it's really nothing special. The other cube I recommend is the Moyu Lingpo. It's also smooth, not quite as smooth as the Dayan, but there's a subtle underlying click to it. So it's smooth, but there's also some clickiness. Some people say that the Lingpo gives them some minor catches, so not full lockups, but just small little catches that get annoying over time. But either of those cubes will serve you well. They're both really good cubes, and you can't go wrong with either one. So Dayan and Lingpo, both good 2x2s. So now on to 3x3. There's a lot of choices for this. So for top of the line cubes, you really can't go wrong with the Moyu line of cubes. There's the Moyu Weilong, Moyu Aolong, and Moyu Hualong. So the Moyu Weilong is very fast and smooth, but it's also blocky. And by that I mean the pieces feel more flat and square. They don't feel very rounded off. So because of that blockiness, if you don't turn accurately enough, it could lock up on you. But if you do turn accurately, then it's a very fast and smooth cube. It's very stable too, so it won't pop on you or anything like that. So next we have the Moyu Aolong, which is a cube that a lot of 3x3 solvers use as their main. It's not quite as fast as the Weilong. It's more of an average speed, so not too fast, not too slow. It's also smooth, but it has a little bit of crunchiness too. It's not like completely smooth like the Moyu Weilong. So it's smooth but also crunchy. And the reason so many fast 3x3 solvers use it as their main is because it's a very reliable cube. It's very controllable. It's not going to overshoot or pop or anything like that. So it gets the job done. It's not too fast, not too slow. It's just right in between. And it's very reliable. So now we have the Moyu Hualong. It's very fast and smooth, but there's also clickiness to it. If you felt a Weilong and a Zhanchi before, it feels like a combination of those two. It has the speed and smoothness of the Weilong, but also the clickiness of the Zhanchi. In terms of feel, it's very light and crispy, but it has a loud sound, so if that bothers you, then you may not want to get it, because the sound is very loud. So now for budget cubes, which you can get for under $10. Here we have the Yuxin. It's very smooth, the corner cutting on it is exceptionally good. Very good corner cutting. It's also the cube that Colin Burns used to set the 5.25 second world record single, but that doesn't mean you should go out and buy it just because he did that. It's a very good cube, but it's slightly on the slower side. Like, it has below average speed, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, because slower speed does make it more controllable. But if you like faster cubes, then this may not be the one for you. Next we have the Shengshou Aurora, which I think is a really good choice for beginner cubers. When you get out of the box, it's really slow and sluggish, but after you break it in, it gets a lot faster, and now it's pretty much an average speed. But the most unique characteristic about it is its smoothness. It's so smooth. It's really smooth and really quiet. It has like a buttery smoothness, which is really pleasant to turn. And it's a very good choice for beginner cubers. It's also a little blockier though, so if you don't turn accurately enough, it could lock up on you. So you may want to watch out for that. And then another budget cube I recommend is the Qiyi Thunderclap. I've never tried one, but from what I've heard, it's basically an Aolong, but it's faster. So it feels like an Aolong, but it's a little bit faster. And a lot of 3x3 solvers are using them as their main. For example, Mats Valk recently used one in the 7.59 competition average. Drew Brads, the champion of 2015 US Nationals, recently switched to one. And Anthony Brooks actually used one in the finals of US Nationals. So there's a lot of fast people using it, and it seems like a really good cube. So I'd recommend checking that one out. And one last 3x3 I'd recommend is the YJ Guanlong. It's a very cheap cube, only $3 or $4, and it's pretty good too. So if you're just getting into cubing or something like that and you just need a cube, that's a pretty good one to go for. You can't really go wrong with it, and it's very cheap. So now on to 4x4. 4x4s come in two main sizes. They're 62mm, which is regular size, and they're 60mm, which is a mini size. So here's a 62 millimeter Aosu. The Moyu Aosu is the cube that most 4x4 solvers use as their main, or at least most fast ones do. It's out of the box, it's kind of on the slower side, but as you break it in, it gets a lot faster. One nice feature about it, though, is that the inner layers and the outer layers are about the same speed. Because if they're not the same speed, it can be distracting during solves, but right now the inner layers and outer layers are pretty consistent, which is a good feature. The Mini Aosu is pretty similar to it. There's some differences, but overall they're pretty similar. So between those two, it just depends on which size you prefer. If you prefer a smaller size, get the Mini Aosu. If you prefer a bigger size, get the full-size Aosu. We also have the Yuxin 4x4. I tried it before, and it seems like it's a pretty good cube. The outer layers turn like an Aosu, but they're actually faster, which is really nice. But the inner layers are a little bit slower, at least until you break it in. After you break it in, it shouldn't be as much of an issue, but before you break it in, it's kind of slower than the outer layers, which can be annoying. And then the last 4x4 I recommend is the Cyclone Boys G4, which is only a 60mm 4x4, so it's a mini 4x4. I've never tried it, but it seems to be really good based on reviews I've seen. And when you get it out of the box, it's supposed to be kind of slow and tight, which is bad, but after you break it in and lube it and just set it up in general, then it gets a lot faster and it's kind of clicky too. So it seems like a good cube. It's pretty cheap too, so I'd recommend checking that one out if you like a smaller size. So now on to Pyraminx. What I have here is the Shengshou Pyraminx. It's not bad, but I really wouldn't recommend it because the Moyu Pyraminx is so much better. The Moyu is basically just pretty easily the best Pyraminx on the market. It's very smooth, really good out of the box. You don't really need to do anything to it. It's just really good. So if you want to get into Pyraminx, I recommend going for the Moyu. And now finally for Skewb, I'd probably just recommend the Moyu Skewb. It's easily the best cube out of the box. You have to do the least work to it to make it good. It's pretty good. It won't lock up very much. Its corner cutting is pretty good. And in general, it's just pretty reliable. So if you don't want to do a lot of work to have a good Skewb, I just recommend this Skewb. It's pretty good. You know, you don't have to do much to it, and it's just solid overall. So no matter what cube you go for, though, don't forget that you need to lube and tension it for it to live up to its maximum potential. Because if it's too tight, it'll be slow and stiff, kind of like a Rubik's brand, and it won't corner cut as well as it should. But if it's too loose, it could corner twist or pop, like that. So you want to make sure your cubes are lubed and tensioned properly, or else they won't really perform as well as they should. So hopefully this video is helpful. As always, if you have any questions or suggestions for a future video, leave those in a comment and I'll get back to those. So thanks for watching. Bye.